Hi, I'm Pipas Forjaz, a Mozambican DOP. I want to talk to you about the look and feel and the equipment we're going to use for our first feature film, RESGATE. For me, as the DOP, telling the story visually is the most important part. The movie will be a mixture of different styles, depending on the pace and mood of each sequence. I haven't researched a specific look. What I've done for many years now is watch many movies and learn from each. We will not stick to a specific visual style or even lighting style throughout the movie. Depending on the sequence, we will shoot handheld or on a Serene and Gravity one, on legs or on a dolly. We will use all the equipment we have at our disposal to tell as well as we can our story and make a compelling film to watch. I feel that a movie does not have to follow a single visual style throughout. It has to use the style each sequence calls for. As for which camera I'm going to use, well, let me tell you how I got to my decision. I used to shoot on many different cameras. When I started film school in Columbia College, Chicago in the early 1990s, we used to shoot on 16mm black and white film. We used Bolex cameras, the roll-up, the ones that you wind up. Then I used ARRIs, SRs and CP16s, Eclairs, many different cameras. When I returned to Mozambique in 1995, there was no film cameras here. So I had to shoot on whatever I got my hands on and whatever the budgets could afford. All video cameras for sure. But during that time, I longed for a camera that would give me the look and feel of the film cameras I had shot with at school. In 2007, I had the pleasure of shooting again on film on a commercial I shot in South Africa, and what a difference that was. It was going back in time. In 2005, I had read about Jim Jannard and his Red Dream on the internet. I followed him until the Red one was launched in 2007, but I just didn't have the cash to put down a down payment. It was $1,000 in that time. I just didn't have that money. Well, actually, maybe I had the $1,000, but I didn't have the rest to pay the camera, so I just looked and I couldn't buy it. But anyway, I worked for 2 years, and in 2009 I had saved enough money to buy my first Red one, and I just closed my eyes and threw the money at the Red one, and I bought the Red one. And I didn't even have lenses for it, if I remember correctly. I just had that camera, and I had a lens that I had from my old CP16 that I had bought from film school. And I bought an adapter and I used it with the Red one. But shooting on a 16mm lens on the Red one was not very much, it wasn't very much fun. When we shot our first film, short film in 2009, we went to South Africa and rented some very nice vintage Zeiss lenses. And those were real nice lenses to shoot on. Then I bought a second-hand red zoom lens, an 18-50 lens, and I remember shooting a whole movie on that one lens. It was strange to shoot on one lens a whole movie, because going from 18 to 50, sometimes you want to go longer. So what did I used to do? If I reached the 50mm mark on the lens and I still not had reached the size I needed, I would change the setting on the Red one and go, for example, from 4K to 3K, and that would make it a longer lens. And if I wanted even a longer lens, I would go down to 2K and I have a longer lens. It was fake, but I still was able to shoot the whole movie. If you watch the movie, you can't really figure out that I used the same lens to shoot a whole movie. Not the best thing to do, but when you don't have the money, it just ends up working out. 2K in 2009 and 2010 was still a very good size to shoot on and looked so much better than HD then or now. As time passed, I saved more money and I was able to buy my first set of prime lenses from Red. I got the 18mm, the 25, the 35, the 85, the 50, the 100, and a beautiful 300mm lens that I really like. Anyway, I haven't really shot with another camera ever since. Well, not exactly. I've upgraded the Red one from the Red one to the Red one MX, and then from the MX to the Epic, and then from the epic to the dragon, and from the dragon to the weapon. So it's been an evolution. The cameras kept on getting better and better and better. And yet even today, when I shoot on the MX, the old MX, I'm surprised how good it looks. So ever since 2009, I haven't really had a choice. I just have shot on Red. For me, the strengths and weaknesses of the Rebbe weapon, well, let me start with the strengths. Right off the bat, RAW is the most important part of Red, then the size of the frame. I think 6K, the size of the R3D files, the latitude of the sensor, and now the size of the camera. In 2009, the Red one was a monster. It was really big, it was heavy. It was a difficult camera to shoot on. Just if you wanted to put it on your shoulder, it was heavy. Now the weapon is so much smaller and lighter. I love it. And ultimately, the ability to use PL glass and changing lens mounts and putting Nikon lenses and Canon lenses, it's got so many different strengths. As for weaknesses, the old Red one for me had 4 main weaknesses. Its size, its weight, the rate at which it ate up the batteries. It was just unbelievably fast at finishing batteries, and the time it took to boot up. I remember it used to take 2 minutes, something to, it just seemed like it took ages. But it did give a pretty picture, and when it was upgraded to the MX, it looked even better. I actually pulled out my Red 1 MX the other day and did a 2-camera setup with the Red 1 MX and the weapon side by side. And they cut perfectly well together, no problems. The weaknesses of the weapon, I really can't say there's a lot of weaknesses. It's a really great camera. It could have maybe a bit more battery life, maybe an even faster boot up, but I can't really complain. Maybe when I try a better camera from Red, then I'll see the differences, but for now they sound very nice. In 2016, I invested in a new set of Sheen lenses from Duclus in LA. I've been shooting on the Sheens for the last few months. For me, one big advantage is that they're much, much lighter and smaller than the Red Primes. The Red Primes are heavy and they're big and they're not the same size, and they've got a heavy focus ring. And anyway, the Sheens are much nicer. They've got a much nicer focus ring, I mean mechanically. They seem to flow much better, smoother, but they do breathe a bit more than the Red Primes when you do rack focusing. For me, I'll have to live with that, but I'll have to save up to buy a vintage set of Zeiss lenses or the Leica Semilux lenses, but that will be later. That's a dream, but as I figured out, dreams, from my experience, do seem to come true, especially when you work hard for them to come true. Well, I hope you had an interesting time listening to me speak about what I love doing. Help us make this film come true. Thank you.